I have to admit that after these two films in which I, with so great enthusiasm, proclaimed my adherence to Michel de Certeau philosophy, and particularly to his theory of daily life practices as a philosophy, the most important expression of philosophy of every one of us. Some doubts came to my mind, and now I have to share with you these doubts, namely what I'm doing as a teacher, as a professor of philosophy in this case, discouraging students to read documents from the past, classics of philosophy, how to reconcile this apology for daily life, for buying, eating, drinking, walking, looking around with a very serious study of philosophical text, of deepening your knowledge of history of philosophy. So this uh, doubts or this aware that I'm here proposing something not compatible with academic life have to has to be clarified. So first of all, what is clear from life, and particular from many articles and books, and a lot of academic activities of Michel de Certeau, that he is not rejecting academic studies, academic efforts, uh, particularly also writing about practices of daily life is an academic activity, right? So, what is important to understand that you are using skills, the new methods which we dealt with on the beginning of our course, with different genres, etc. So everything what we studied till now, what we learn are important, has to be included in our reflection of daily life, of in our anthropology of daily life. This is only the broadening, enriching what we knew already about. And I think this is like making our philosophy more rooted in exactly daily life experience. It's not something separated from this. And I think this is a call for sincerity, for honesty, for integrity, that you don't have many narratives of your life, or many versions of your life. And I think what is so vividly debated when you take, for example, politicians, right? They are saying one things, and suddenly we discovered, like in a few days ago, it was the case of some Hungarian politicians who was and is still a right-wing radical, for whom the family, Christian values are more important. But after we see that his moral practice is different from what he proclaimed, and the same when we compare what so many people of the church, priests, bishops, cardinals, even preaching one thing, and after we discover that they are, I don't know, they are pedophiles, so they hide pedophiles, cover the scandals, etc. So I think All this could be avoided if we will be more aware that we should not make segments from our life, that everything should be mm, present, so to say, on daily life, on daily light. We cannot hide, we should not hide anything, because if we are preaching one thing and doing another thing, we are the victims as the first. And here, as usual, I can share with you my own existential experience with this. When I discovered Michel de Certeau, when I discovered his changing focus of his academic interest, when I compared his books written on the history of Catholicism, on the theology, on the life of saints or of these possessed nuns in Loudun, as I mentioned. And suddenly I saw his last articles, his last books focus on daily life. I now I can say for me it's is the one narrative. The both things are important. You should not separate your word of your ideas from what you are living every day. So, in other words, for me, this new aspect, which I discovered thanks to anthropology of daily life, helped me to integrate also my personal life. I see that everything, culture, film, music, theater, all these are a way to articulate who we really are, and even what we eat, and what are our dreams, our desires. You remember, for Deserto, it was very important to study and to digest deeply psychoanalysis, namely Sigmund Freud's theory on id, that we are divided in three parts. So our ego, who we are, our non-conscious desires, id, what is not conscious, and our superego, what is behind us, right? What is shaping our world. And when Freud at the beginning of 20th centuries was writing about what was discovering this uh, complex structure of human being, it was a revolution for every people, for many people. It was the open eyes experience. That what is inside me, what is non-conscious, my deepest emotions, instincts, are really shaping my way of speaking, my way of perceiving reality around me. And it was a real revolution. So for Deserto, it was important to include psychoanalysis into his word. And after one of the very important student of Freud was Lacan, the French psychoanalytical practitioners. He was, he built a new school of psychoanalysis where he focused on words. On It's a very complex story, but what I wanted to say, that you are learning from everybody. And Michel Foucault, very important also thinker, philosopher, for whom the history of sexuality, of history of oppression, of domination was very important. And Foucault, educated in and receiving a very strict Catholic education with repressed sexuality, with repressed homosexual identity, when suddenly he was, rejected, liberated from this oppression, he started to philosophizing in different way, and he made a school. So what I want to say to you that our studying philosophy and our focusing our attention on daily life practices is suggesting that everything is important. How we behave, which kind of joys we have listening to one person, or following these politicians or others. So all this is constructing us as a human beings. And of course, as last week, we spent a lot of time to discuss how much religion and the way how religion is perceived are shaping our worldview. This is all very important. Or clothes which we have, right? Books which we read. Uh, all this is part of our philosophical world apparatus, so to say. And next week, we will focus our attention on one of the leading philosopher and founding father of our Western philosophy, Socrates. But I hope Socrates will help us to see how similar our situation is today. We don't have to think about ourselves that we are different from Athens and the Greeks who were philosophizing 5th century before Common Era. We are doing the same today. And what is important that we discover that our philosophizing is based on who we are today, and we don't have to escape or to avoid any dimension of our life. So being a true philosopher means that I am aware of the importance of every moment of my life, of every second of my life, and also of what is conscious or not conscious. Because most of our daily life practices, if we are honest with ourselves, are not conscious. We are doing things because we used to do it. When we wake up, we just look at our smartphone and we look at our emails, or this kind. So this is a new existential situation, but they are daily practices of daily life, and they are shaping us. They are constructing us as a new human being. So we are in constant process of creating ourselves, of inventing ourselves. So be aware of this process, and I invite you warmly to formulate your questions. And again, I'm very sorry that I am unable to answer all questions, but I will do my best to answer more questions possible during our questions and answer session. So see you in class.